starts now.
People all over the state line assess damage after violent storms tear through local communities. We look at some of the spots hit hard by high winds and heavy rain.
A tourist hotspot in downtown Chicago sees an outbreak of violence. The Windy City's top cop says peaceful protests had nothing to do with the late-night crime spree.
Local teachers get themselves and their classrooms ready for the new school year. Some show us the extra steps they're taking to make sure an education is the only thing students take home.
Good evening, I'm Mimi Murphy.
And I'm Eric Wilson. It's been a busy afternoon for our weather team. Severe storms rolled through the state line.
Let's rejoin Candice in the Weather Center. Candice, are we fully in the clear now?
Yeah, Eric and Mimi, we are. The worst of the weather has now crossed over Lake Michigan, back through Michigan and Indiana here this evening. So it will be much more quiet as we go through the rest of this evening. But it was very noisy with the severe thunderstorms that rolled through. In fact, a derecho with thunderstorms that started all the way back across the northern plains very early this morning really maintained its strength, producing quite a bit of wind damage across much of Iowa and then continuing here into northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. In fact, you can really see how that storm complex just expanded early this afternoon. Now it is pushing through the Chicagoland area into Michigan and Indiana this evening. We are still dealing with a few rain showers and some wind. That is going to be our primary issue here for the next hour or two, but it will be much more quiet as we go through the remainder of this evening. You can actually see all the wind damage reports. There were wind reports, guys, coming in from Iowa of 90-mile-per-hour wind gusts and even estimated at 100 miles per hour. So no surprise that we've had some pretty significant wind damage across much of the Midwest and even here closer to home. Some significant wind damage in and around the Rockford area just off to the east. Freeport reporting some hail. Forreston, wind damage down there, and same thing down towards Harmon, near Rochelle, and then even out towards DeKalb this evening. But as I said, we're much more quiet. High wind warning in place, though, until 7 o'clock as some winds on the backside of this associated with a wake low could gust as high as 50 miles per hour. Good news, we're starting to see some of those wind speeds come down. I'll share some of your photos and have a much more quiet weather ahead, guys, coming up in the full forecast here a little later.
After this afternoon, we could use the break. Thanks, Candice. We'll see you in a bit.
And from downed trees to damaged homes, this afternoon storms left behind a trail of destruction.
Meteorologists Kevin Doom and Joey Marino have been chasing the weather all day. Kevin's live near Rock Valley College. Kevin, what kind of damage are you seeing?
Eric and Mimi, we're just off the campus of Rock Valley College, and we're just seeing some very widespread damage, mostly damage to trees all around the east side of town here. Many trees torn up, nearly uprooted, torn up from near the base of the trunk on top of several small branches and twigs all over the ground. Plenty of leaves all over streets and sidewalks. A lot of street lights on the east side of town also out. Here in particular at Rock Valley, we're seeing trees down all around us, falling down across the river, and just in a big field here right off the campus, just several trees, like I said, torn up nearly from the base of the trunk, nearly completely uprooted from the ground. And this is what we're seeing all across the east side of town here. Now, as Candice mentioned, the worst is behind us. It's just drizzling very light here, and there's practically no wind, which is sort of hard to believe considering not too long ago the winds were just horrendous. Things are really calming down here. We're actually starting to see a good bit of sunshine out there. Now, Candice is going to have a little bit more on this, on what we saw earlier this evening in the forecast. But for now, reporting from Rock Valley College, I'm meteorologist Kevin Doom. Eric and Mimi, let's go back to you.
All right, thanks, Kevin, for that report. Fortunately, no reports of injuries. That's a good part.
That is good news. The storms, though, have left thousands of us without power. In Winnebago County alone, more than 20,000 customers have no electricity. In all, more than 60,000 homes have been affected in our viewing area. If you have an outage or know someone who does, call 1-800-EDISON-1. That's 1-800-EDISON-1. Remember, you can stay up to date on the weather 24 hours a day with the First Warn weather app, forecast, radar images, and the First Warn blog are all at your fingertips.
Illinois sees a drop in the number of new COVID cases. Just over 1,300 were reported in the last 24 hours. That's down after several days of more than 2,000 positive cases reported. One person died. The statewide 7-day positivity rate sits at 4.1%. Since the start of the pandemic, Illinois labs have tested 3.1 million samples.
Illinois students have been out of the classroom for months, but many will go back over the next few weeks in the middle of a pandemic.
And that means lots of changes. Michelle Rave shows us how one teacher is preparing.
Classrooms will look a little different this upcoming school year. One teacher I spoke with says she's already preparing for students to come back. Teachers at Spectrum Progressive School are starting to get their classrooms ready for fall.
I've moved into this and just have started from scratch. Basically made sure that each child will have their own table, their own chair, their own space, and have just kind of been making it up as I go along.
4th and 5th grade teacher Kelly Greenfield is making sure her students feel safe.
I have 5 tables on either side of the room, as close to 6 feet apart as I can get them.
Each student will have a table to themselves, equipped with everything the students will need.
They'll each have a bottle of hand sanitizer and possibly cleaner so they can take care of their chair and table and stool. And then they'll have some way to organize their supplies.
Spectrum will also use outdoor spaces as much as possible.
So we have this really rich opportunity to take learning outside, to create context outside. Our theme this year is innovation, so there's all kinds of ways in which this new context is giving us opportunities to think creatively.
Greenfield is optimistic for the start of the school year.
Now we've had time to plan, we've had time to organize and clean and get everybody ready. So I think we're feeling a lot more optimistic now than we did in the spring, because the spring was just, okay, let's try this and hope it works. But now we've had time to get ready.
Coming up at 6, we'll hear from Spectrum Progressive School's principal about some more upcoming changes. In Rockford, for your home team, I'm Michelle Rave.
A few local schools start classes this week. Each district has a different reopening plan. You can find those on our website, mystateline.com. Just click on the banner at the top of our homepage.
One man is dead after an early morning shooting at a Rockford hotel. It happened just before 1 a.m. at the Sleep Inn just north of East State and Bell School. Rockford police say a 20-year-old man was found on the floor of the lobby, shot multiple times. Right now, they believe he was a targeted attack. No word yet on any suspects. If you have information on the shooting, call Rockford Police or Crime Stoppers.
Chicago officials promise to arrest every suspect they can find after a night of violent looting in Chicago. Hundreds of looters overran the Magnificent Mile just after midnight. Some fought back when police confronted them. One man fired at officers. Officials say the looting was prompted by a social media post, but may also be connected to a police shooting that happened hours earlier. More than 100 people were arrested. 13 police officers were hurt.
This was not an organized protest. Rather, this was an incident of pure criminality. This was an act of violence against our police officers and against our city.
Detective units have set up a special team of investigators to look at surveillance video and identify the looters. As soon as the sun came up this morning, volunteers were out cleaning up that damage. Business owners did their best to secure their property. Some of these same stores were hit just 3 months ago during riots sparked by George Floyd's death. Neighborhood residents say city officials aren't doing enough to protect them. Police say they'll be out in force in the area until further notice.
Voters will head to the polls in Wisconsin tomorrow, and it will look different than other elections. This is a partisan primary election. In Beloit, the city council approved to consolidate polling places into 2 locations. Also, because of a shortage of poll workers, National Guard members are being called in to staff any site that needs it. Polls will be open from 7 in the morning until 8 at night. 3 Rockford protesters arrested during Friday evening protests near City Market appear in court.
Desire Floyd and Kavion Neighbors face several charges, including resisting a police officer. Eli Casanelli is charged with aggravated battery to a peace officer. Police say Casanelli injured an officer. That officer will reportedly be off the job for several months. Casanelli's bond is set at $10,000. He's due back in court August 27th. Floyd and Neighbors were released on bail. They were also ordered to stay away from City Market.
Some area kids get a first-hand look at how local police officers do their jobs. It's part of the Rockford Park District's Youth Police Academy. Kids ages 8 to 16 interacted with officers. They played games and took part in team-building exercises. With tensions high between communities and police, organizers say it's a good chance to create understanding. Class size was limited to 15 kids per session due to COVID restrictions.
Now, your first warned weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Candice King.
Severe thunderstorms quickly rolled across southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois here this afternoon, producing quite a bit of wind damage, specifically to trees, power lines. Reports of sighting coming off of buildings here as we had winds clocked at 70 to even 80 miles per hour. Our weather watcher Patrick, just northeast of Rockford, actually clocked a wind gust of 84 miles per hour. And we also had a few tornado warnings associated with this line of thunderstorms, which oftentimes you can get. This is actually a long-lived complex of thunderstorms known most likely going down as a derecho. Looking at the kind of longevity of this complex of storms still going as it moves through Indiana and now into Michigan here this evening. But this complex of storms started out over parts of South Dakota very early this morning, grew in intensity over Iowa, and quickly raced across the area here early this afternoon, at times moving to the east at 70 miles per hour. Significant wind damage reported with this, not only here locally, but also back off to the west in Iowa, where winds were clocked at 80, 90, even estimated at 100 miles per hour. And you can see the widespread wind damage we have extending from places like Monroe, just to the southeast of Janesville, here in Rockford, where you saw the report with meteorologist Kevin Doom of some widespread damage, especially on the east side of town. North of Rochelle, near Forston, we've had some reports of some trailer parks down in that area damaged as a result of those strong winds, and also down near Harmon, too. Now, not only did we have the wind, but we had some very heavy rain, widespread rain here across southern Wisconsin along Highway 20, anywhere from 2 up to 2.5 inches coming down, but also Sandy here south of Rockford called in just a little before the 5 o'clock newscast and said, Rockton, I should say, and said she had over 4 inches of rain come down. So we had some locally very heavy rain, along with some very ominous looking skies too. The good news for us, things are going to be much more quiet here as we go through this evening, but you can see the damage. Our weather watcher Sandy out in the Kirkland-Fairdale area, this is actually just along 72 and Irene Road there. The wind damage to the corn, it was flattened. A lot of this straight line wind damage, but of course the National Weather Service might even come out and do a damage survey, especially with some of reports that we had of some rotation possibly here east of Rockford. Joy shared this picture of some tree damage, and you see how large that tree is too. And that's one thing that Kevin and Joey noted when they were looking at some of the tree damage. This was significant. I mean, these are large tree trunks that were either snapped, kind of twisted, or uprooted here this afternoon. Much more quiet out there this evening. A live look with our Mercy House SkyTrack camera up in Beloit, Wisconsin. Might still be a little on the windy side. We've actually lost a couple of our reports here with our current temperature. 69 in Rockford, Belvedere. 68 our temperature right now in Janesville. Cold front coming through, so this will actually leave us a little bit more quiet here as we go through the end of the week. Actually, our dew point temperatures will continue to drop here as we go through the night tonight. I'm getting there, I'm trying to. So let's plan us out here for these next couple of days. High pressure will work through here as we go towards tomorrow and Wednesday. This will actually help clear us out. We'll see more sunshine these next couple of days, although the pattern might get a little bit more active as we work towards the end of this week. So temperature tonight down around 62 degrees, not quite as muggy as what it was here the past couple of nights. Tomorrow we're in the low 80s, right around 84 degrees for our Tuesday afternoon. Plenty of sunshine for Tuesday, Wednesday. Could see a couple of isolated thunderstorms work in though once we head guys towards the end of this week.
But still going to stay warm. All right, thanks Candace.
Now, the Napleton Sports Desk with Sports Director Scott Leber.
As of now, the college football season is still on for the Power 5 conferences, but that could change in the next 24 hours. There were multiple reports earlier today that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 will announce tomorrow that they won't be playing football this fall. But a Big Ten spokesman came out and said there's been no official vote taken yet by the conference presidents. Dan Patrick reported on his radio show this morning that 10 of the 12 Big Ten presidents don't think the season should be played. He said that Iowa and Nebraska are the two schools that do want to play this fall. If Nate Wheating makes it on an NFL roster this season, it won't be with the Browns. The Rockford Lutheran graduate and former Iowa Hawkeye was cut by the Browns Sunday, but today he was claimed off waivers by the Miami Dolphins. Wheating went undrafted in April, but he was signed as a free agent by the Browns. They're deep at the tight end position and didn't have a spot for weeding. Well, this is the first day the high school fall sports teams in Illinois could hold practices. That's for non-contact or minimal contact sports that are allowed to hold contests. Those sports are girls swimming and diving, girls tennis, boys and girls cross country, and boys and girls golf. Although many of those teams scheduled to hold practices this afternoon were forced to postpone them due to the storms that came through the area. The Auburn girls tennis team did get in its first practice this morning. Auburn won the Nick 10 championship last year behind #1 singles player Beelin Nevenhoven. She wound up finishing second in state in singles. The Knights played it safe. They're following safety protocols each practice and hoping for the best that they can get a full season in.
We have to get tested before they get the temperature test, and then they get the questionnaire before they go on the court each day. So I just basically said, ladies, let's just take it one day at a time, enjoy every day we're out here together, and just whatever happens, happens. So that's what we're going to do, just take it one day at a time.
Worst of the weather has now passed off to the east. All severe thunderstorm watches have been canceled. A little more quiet and more comfortable here as we go through the night tonight, drying out for Tuesday and Wednesday.
All right, thanks for keeping us updated, Candice.
And thank you for spending some time with us. Stay safe.